Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of How I Came Up. My name is Sam Hill, Career Change Guru, and this week, this one's near and dear to my heart. We actually have Thearthur Duncan on the show, and he's going to talk about his life, his trials and tribulations, where he came from, where he is today, and actually, talk also about family. I can't wait for you guys to hear his story. Now let's get to it. This is how I came up.
My name is Thearthur Duncan. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, South Central, LA, but I was primarily raised here in Buffalo, New York. I'm from the downtown area of Buffalo, and they call it down the way, Embley Street. To be specific, they call it E Block. I'm giving you all the Sperry Park 31, the street terminology, because I'm still connected. I went back and forth like all my life. My mother's out in Los Angeles by herself. My pops went away to Vietnam. And so my mother's out in LA struggling. So she would send me back to Buffalo to be raised by my grandparents. In Los Angeles, my mother would move around. In Buffalo, it was more stable. My grandfather owned like 4 or 5 houses on the street, so it was nothing but family. So I would be in that neighborhood, and I knew everybody in the neighborhood, so I loved it there. But of course, I would miss my mother, so I would go back and forth. So, I did kindergarten in Buffalo. I did first grade in LA, second grade in LA, third grade in Buffalo, fourth grade in LA in Inglewood, then 5th through 8th in Buffalo. And then I went back out to LA for high school. When I went out there to high school for LA, that's when I got a chance to meet my father. And but this was like the 80s, so this when gang violence in Los Angeles was crazy. So I happened to live in the Blood neighborhood where I went to school with Crips. So now I'm dealing with that dynamic of going to school every day, getting on the bus, with wondering if I'm gonna be caught up with the wrong color. So a lot of times I talk my way out of it. One time I couldn't talk my way out of it. I had on the purple Lakers jacket, and this guy, he was a Grape Street Crip, and they even though they was Crips, their colors was purple, so he wanted my jacket. So he put a knife to my throat, made me take my Laker jacket off. That was when I was 14, a freshman in high school. So I was trying to just talk my way out of it, just trying to survive. Started to get to know my father, stayed out in LA with my brother, and his stepfather, and that became an issue. My brother's father developed a drug addiction, and that's what back in the day when they used to call it freebasing, before they called it like crack and stuff. And so he started off, smoking a little weed and starting to get high, and it got worse and worse. So, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know this drug epidemic was come about, and that his drug addiction was gonna get so bad that he would start stealing from the household, abusing my mother, wasn't paying bills. I would come home from basketball practice and the VCR would be gone, TVs, anything he can get his hands on, the videotapes and stuff. And so, that became a real detriment to my family's household. So now I'm dealing with 2 dynamics, trying to stay alive in South Central LA with all the gang violence, and then worry about my mom's, and then coming home and all my stuff gone. Then he would come like in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, bamming on the windows and the doors, like keeping us up so we couldn't sleep. So it got LA got real bad. A lot of people ask me, why did I leave Los Angeles to come back to Buffalo? Well, after going through that with my brother's father and the gang violence and stuff, LA had left a bad taste in my mouth.
Hi, my name is Shamari James,
co-founder and CEO of Equity Now, Inc., nonprofit charter management organization to Legends Charter School. And our mission, we believe in expediting change. So we provide, as a charter management organization, services to Legends Charter School. So every single kid in our school receives a stock portfolio. It's not just enough to grow your wealth, but you also need to sustain your wealth. So we're fundamentally focused on ensuring that we are seeing that there is competency exercise with social and emotional learning within our school and in the communities that we serve. So now that you've seen and heard about Equity Now Inc., I hope that you're wondering, how can you help? Please visit us at www.equitynowinc.org to support us, to donate to us, to become a partner, or even collaborate. We're also on all social media at Equity Now Inc. We appreciate you. Look forward to working with you.
I was raised in the church. My grandfather was a pastor here, so I was raised up in the church. And I was basically the prodigal son that I got older and I chose the streets over my upbringing. So me getting a second chance coming out of jail, I was determined to right or wrong. I wind up actually being incarcerated in the year of 2000 to 2003 and in federal prison. I got out of federal prison in 2003, and now I was a convicted felon, no job skills, only a high school diploma. Was having trouble finding jobs. I got a job driving a wheelchair van for We Care. I was working like 50, 60, 70 hours a week. It was like hard labor, basically taking people up and down the stairs in wheelchairs. And I was like, something got to give. I was too smart and the labor was too intensive for me to be doing this long term. So my thing was that I needed something to deflect away from this felony. So I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew I had to enroll in school. So I wound up enrolling into ECC. I took general studies because, again, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I took general studies, and of course, I said I was smart, so I was doing quite well. I had like a 3.8 GPA, even working 60 hours a week, driving a wheelchair van, going to school, and got close to a professor there. And he asked me what I was going to do after I graduated with my associates. And I told him I always wanted to be a lawyer, but I couldn't. And he was puzzled. He was like, well, Thearthur, you smart, you're getting good grades. I don't see why you can't become an attorney. What's the problem? So I got pretty close to him. I had him for like 2 or 3 classes. So I felt comfortable enough to tell him about my background. So basically I told him, I was like, look, I'm on supervised probation release. I just got out of jail. I did 3 years in federal prison. I'm a felon. And I know I can't become an attorney as a felon. And he asked me, was I sure about that? And so I assumed that I couldn't. And that's one thing I tell people, never assume anything, do the research. So basically, I told him, I was like, I don't think I became an attorney. I can become an attorney. He said, let me look into it for you. So I said, sure. So he came back to me about 2 weeks later and said, Thearthur, I got good news for you and I got bad news. And I was like, Professor, what's the good news? He said, well, the good news is that there's not an absolute bar for you to become an attorney in New York State with a felony. And he said it's discretionary. It's up to a character and fitness committee. And I was like, well, what's the bad news? He said, well, the bad news is there's no way for you to know now whether they're going to tell you yes or no. You're going to have to go through all the pre-steps to find out. So you're going to have to get your associates, your bachelor's, go to law school, get your JD, take and pass the New York State bar, amass all this debt, especially with going to law school, and then go in front of this character and fitness committee, and then they can tell you no. And so my whole thing was, and he asked me, what did I want to do? Did I want to try it? And again, my whole thing was to put some letters behind my name to deflect away from this felony. So to me, I didn't have anything to lose. Worst case scenario, I would have a Juris Doctorate and I would be able to get some, some gainful employment with my JD. So I told him, I'm willing to try it. And he's told me that he would do everything he could to help me along the way. And so he helped me, he wrote letters of reference for me to get into UB, to get into law school. He's been a mentor to me through the whole process. And I was able to start going through this process, and along the way, I started getting a lot of influential people in my corner, politicians, my pastor, judges, so on and so forth. And these are the people that was in my corner through this process. And that when I got to the Character and Fitness Committee 8 years later, they okayed me and they allowed me to practice. And even a couple of years later, so I got admitted into New York State to practice into New York State courts. But to practice federally, you have to be admitted by a judge. So my criminal case was federal. So I did 3 years in federal prison. So I wanted to go practice in federal court. So I went back in front of the same judge that sentenced me to prison to ask for admission into federal court. And I didn't know whether he was going to receive it or not, or how he was going to feel about it. And I needed a sponsoring attorney too. So I asked the attorney that defended me in my criminal matter to be my sponsoring attorney. So here you have three individuals, the judge, my attorney, and myself, back 15 years later in a whole different scenario. And now instead of the judge sentencing me to federal prison, I'm asking him to admit me to practice in federal court. And it was a good day. And he received it. He was very happy. Something like this doesn't happen for a federal judge to be able to sentence somebody and see the rehabilitation and the turnaround. And that he was able to be a part of that he was very lenient in my sentencing. Even in my sentencing, I had a speech that I talked about, I wanted to go back to school when I got out of jail. And part of when he sentenced me, he said that he wanted me to go back to school and stuff when I got out of jail. But, a lot of times it's just talk. People say what they want to do just for your leniency. But me, myself, I took that and ran with it.
If you've been hurt in a car accident, call 716-390-9592. Our lawyers can help you get money. Had your civil rights or contract rights violated, stopped or wrongfully detained by the police? Call us now, 716-390-9592. Got an issue with your landlord or tenant? Call us now, 716-390-9592. Call RHM Consulting, 716-390-9592. That's 716-390-9592.
I'm Rashid H. McDuffie, and I approve this message.
Good morning, everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure to speak with you today. I want to thank President Quinn, Jeff and Stephanie in their absence for having me today and letting me be the keynote speaker for this morning's breakfast. So now I'm a criminal defense attorney here in Buffalo. Primarily, I have my own practice now for 4 years. Before that, though, however, I was assistant corporation counsel for the city of Buffalo. And ironically, in that job, I did civil defense for the Board of Education and for the city of Buffalo and all its departments, which included the police department. So here you had an ex-felon that was now defending the police department. So, and I did that for about 3.5, 4 years before, again, I resigned to open up my own practice. I wrote a book called Felon Attorney. I wrote the book because like I always say, God didn't bless me for me to keep it a secret. So, it was this paramount that I put this book out and this information to let people know that, yes, you can become an attorney as a felon, and yes, you can get financial aid to help you along the way. And so I put out the book. Again, I got some pushback when I put it out. A lot of people in this new arena, now I'm a licensed attorney, and people don't know my background. And so now we're putting the book out, people know my background. So it was like, is this gonna hurt me? Become as an attorney, is now people gonna look at me differently, judges, other attorneys, so on and so forth. But that wasn't my concern. Again, I put out the book for the information and because God blessed me, despite my issues and my past wrongdoings, and he blessed me, and I didn't want to keep it a secret. God is number one. Recently I was quite sick, and for a period of probably 7 to 8 months, and I'm still kind of recovering. And I was so sick to the point that I couldn't walk. I had a feeding tube, and I was very sick. And it came at a point where I'm a deacon at my church, and I was really, I would say, just going hard as far as my faith. And I was teaching Sunday school. I was, bringing a word every second Sunday. And it seemed like God kind of struck me down when I was, doing my best or whatever. I was being tested. So, and I'm a firm believer that God will, test you to strengthen you. And so, I got sick, but he never left my side, and he was with me through it all. And I stayed faithful, and God brought me through. And I know he got something bigger and better for me. And this is just another testimony of what God can do. And so again, God is first, and he has blessed me beyond my wildest. I never thought that I would become an attorney, have the lifestyle that I have and all the blessings and the family and stuff. And so I just got to continue to put him first. But he'll keep you on your knees. But you continue to put him first, keep your faith, and and God, he will provide. He is a healer, and I just thank him for everything he's done for me, and I'm just continue thanking him. And so my faith is first, my family, and and God. And so I'm just thankful at this moment. I'm thankful to be able to do this interview. Just thankful for family and friends, and I'm just going to continue putting them first and let them order my steps, and the chips go fall where they may. You can reach and connect with me. My office number is 716-436-3214. Again, my office number for the law office of Thearthur Duncan is 716-436-3214. Also on social media through Facebook, I'm Thearthur Duncan. I also have a business page for the law office of Thearthur Duncan. I'm also on LinkedIn as Thearthur Duncan, on Twitter as Thearthur ESQ. You just find me and inbox me, I'll answer. Thearthur Duncan. And this is how I came up.
Maria, Radio Red Rocks, Red.
This is Addison Henderson.
I'm Danielle Jackson.
It's Ponzo Houdini.
And this is how I came up.
I'm the career change guru, Sam Hill, and host of How I Came Up. This season, we have entertainers, entrepreneurs, and educators Season 3 of How I Came Up is going to be extraordinary. Now let's get to it. This is how I came up.